Imagine sitting in this really packed conference room. I mean, wall-to-wall people. Your coworker is standing up at the front, and she is presenting this massive project to the entire company.
Oh, wow. That is high pressure.
Right. So you were sitting there watching the audience, and you suddenly realize, this presentation is a complete disaster.
Oh, no. Like a total train wreck.
Exactly. People are squinting at the screen like they can't write the text. The manager is frowning in the front row. And, well, the worst part, you are the one who reviewed her slides yesterday.
Oh, that is the worst feeling in the world.
It really is. You knew they were bad.
Yeah.
But, you didn't have the words to tell her, so you just smiled and said, oh, it looks really good.
Yeah. Welcome to Talk English Daily, Episode 9. I know that scenario sounds like an absolute nightmare, but honestly, for so many of us working in a second language, it is a very real, very terrifying situation.
It is so common. Today, we're tackling something that makes almost everyone sweat, which is how to give constructive feedback in English without sounding rude or mean or, aggressive.
Yeah, and if you're an English learner, like anywhere from an A2 to a B1 level, you are in exactly the right place today.
Absolutely. We're going to give you the exact vocabulary you need to handle these really high-pressure moments. Because giving feedback in a second language, it feels like walking through a minefield.
It really does. You want to be helpful, right? You want to be a good teammate, but you're terrified that choosing the wrong English word will just totally destroy your relationship with your colleague.
And it's paralyzing.
It is. And, that opening story we just told, that actually happened to me.
Wait, really? I mean, I knew you had a bad presentation story, but I didn't realize it was in front of the entire company. How many people were actually in that room?
Oh, it was over 50 people.
No way.
Yes. And the whole executive team was there. And this colleague, she was just so excited. She'd worked so hard on it, but her structure was totally confusing.
Like hard to follow.
Yeah, exactly. 2 of her slides were basically identical. And her conclusion, it just didn't connect to the opening at all.
So it was just completely disconnected. Why didn't you just tell her? I mean, you're usually so good at catching those things.
Because I panicked. I totally froze. At the time, I just didn't have the right English phrases to say, your structure is confusing, without sounding like a complete jerk.
Right. You didn't want to be the bad guy.
Exactly. I was so scared of hurting her feelings. So I just lied. I smiled and said it looked really good.
Oh, no. You gave her the thumbs up on a sinking ship.
Yeah.
What happened during the actual meeting?
It was agonizing to watch. The audience was visibly lost. And then the CEO started asking her these really difficult, pointed questions.
Oh, that is brutal.
It was. She looked like a deer in the headlights.
And I'm guessing she figured out pretty quickly that you had let her walk right into a trap.
Oh, totally. Afterwards, she marched right up to my desk. She was almost in tears. And she just looked at me and said, I thought you said it was good.
Oh, wow. That is heavy. What do you even say to that?
I had absolutely no response. I just sat there in silence, and I realized in that exact moment that I hadn't protected her feelings at all.
Yeah, by trying to be nice, you actually made it worse.
Exactly. By withholding my feedback, I actually set her up to fail publicly.
That is such a huge realization.
Yeah.
And honestly, it makes me feel a little bit better about my own biggest failure because I have done almost the exact same thing.
Wait, really? You've done the fake looks great routine too. Tell me about your disaster.
Oh, it was terrible. It was a business proposal. A colleague asked me to review this massive document that was going out to a potential new client.
Okay, so high stakes.
Very high stakes. Big money on the line.
So what was actually wrong with the document when you read it?
There were 3 massive glaring errors. First, the executive summary was way too long. I mean, it was like reading a novel.
Oh, nobody has time for that.
Right. Second, the pricing was totally buried on page 20. And third, it completely lacked a strong value differentiator, like it sounded just like every other company out there.
So basically, the client would fall asleep before they ever found out how much it cost or why they should even hire you. Did you tell him?
I tried. I really did. I sat at my keyboard, typing and deleting emails for an hour.
It is so hard to find the right words.
It is. I'd type, your summary is too long, and then delete it. Then I'd type, this pricing is hidden, and delete that too. Every sentence I tried just sounded way too harsh, or just completely vague.
It's that paralysis, right? Finding that sweet spot between direct and polite in English is just so incredibly hard. So what did you actually send him?
I totally chickened out. I hit reply and just sent back an email saying, looks solid, maybe tweak the intro a bit. It was incredibly vague.
And let me guess, he didn't make any meaningful changes. He sent it off and the client rejected it.
Completely rejected. We lost the entire deal. And it hit me really hard, Withholding feedback isn't kindness. It's actually a form of professional cowardice. It hurts people.
That right there, that is the core insight for our listeners today. If you take away nothing else from this, hear this. The inability to give feedback kindly in English has real professional consequences. It damages careers.
It really does. And on the flip side, honest, specific feedback is a professional gift. It is one of the most valuable things you can ever offer a teammate. But you have to know exactly how to deliver it.
Exactly. So let's frame what we are actually talking about today. What exactly is constructive feedback in an international professional environment?
Well, when feedback is done right, it's kind of like a superpower. It accelerates growth, it builds deep trust, it makes the whole team faster and just, well, smarter.
But when it's done poorly or completely avoided, like in our stories, it breeds confusion, it breeds resentment. People just get stuck making the exact same mistakes for years.
So true. So let's look at the word constructive itself. If you think about the root word, construct, it literally means to build something.
Right, like constructing a building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Constructive feedback is useful, it is specific, and its only goal is to build the person up.
Right. And the exact opposite of that is destructive feedback. That is when you just tear something down, break it apart, and walk away without offering any sort of blueprint for how to fix it.
We also have to draw a massive, thick line here between feedback and criticism. They're not the same thing at all, especially in English-speaking workplaces.
This is so crucial. Criticism is a judgment about a person. If I say, you are disorganized or this work is bad, that's criticism. It's just a verdict.
Exactly. Criticism closes doors, but feedback is information. It's data about a specific situation or a specific behavior and the effect that it had. Feedback opens doors.
And if you're an English learner working in an international space, you really need to understand the cultural context here. English-speaking professional culture values a very specific style.
It's a tricky balance for sure. You are expected to be direct, but also diplomatic. You have to be totally honest without being blunt, and you have to be kind without being empty.
It sounds impossible, I know, but it isn't. It's honestly just a formula. Once you learn the exact English toolkit, the skill just follows.
So here is our roadmap for you today. We're breaking this down into 3 stages. First, the core principles of giving feedback. The psychology behind it, really.
Second, we're going to open up the exact English language toolkit. We will give you the specific phrases to memorize and use at work tomorrow.
And third, we will look at the other side of the mirror. How to receive feedback gracefully when someone is giving it to you.
Let's start with stage 1. Now that we know what constructive feedback is, how do we actually give it without making our coworkers completely hate us?
Principle number 1, and this is massive. Be specific. I literally cannot stress this enough. The biggest failure in giving feedback is vagueness.
Vagueness is absolutely the enemy. Think about it like driving a car. If you're learning to drive and your instructor just says you're doing a bad job, or even, hey, you're doing a good job, that doesn't actually help you navigate the road.
Right. You need them to say, you need to brake earlier before the corner. Specificity. Let's look at a workplace example. If you say to someone, this report needs work, that is terrifyingly vague.
It just causes instant anxiety. The person just sits there thinking, what does that mean? Do I rewrite the whole thing? Am I getting fired?
Exactly. Instead, listen to this specific version. The third section tries to cover 2 different arguments at the same time, the efficiency gains and the cost implications.
Do you hear how helpful that is? You identified the exact location of the problem. It's literally a map.
That brings us to principle number 2, which is a famous framework used in global businesses everywhere. It's called the SBI model. SBI.
SBI stands for Situation, Behavior, Impact. Let's say that again for our listeners taking notes. Situation, Behavior, Impact.
I will admit, the first time I heard about SBI, I thought it sounded a bit robotic. Like, am I really supposed to talk like a computer at work?
It can definitely feel that way at first, but it's actually a safety net. The magic of the SBI model is that it completely removes personality and emotion from the conversation. It forces you to only state observable facts.
Okay, let's break down an example so our listeners can hear how it actually sounds in practice. Let's imagine a colleague created some confusion in a Monday meeting.
Okay, here is the situation part. In Monday's team meeting, notice it's just setting the time and place. 0 emotion.
Right. Then the behavior part. When the deadline question came up, you gave 3 different dates without clarifying which one was confirmed.
See, just the facts, not you were confusing, just what was physically said in the room. And finally, the impact part.
Which is, 2 team members left the meeting unclear about the actual deadline and had to follow up separately, which delayed the start of their work.
Situation, Behaviour Impact. It's so clean. Let's do another one, maybe a slightly higher stakes one, like a client call.
Right, I've got one. Situation. In last week's client presentation.
Good. Now, behavior. When the client raised a concern about the implementation timeline, you move past it quickly without fully acknowledging or addressing their worry.
And the impact. The client sent a follow-up email that afternoon saying they still had unresolved questions about the schedule, which suggests they didn't feel heard in the room.
What makes those examples so powerful is what is missing from them. There are absolutely no character judgments. There is no, you are a bad listener or you are careless.
And that leads perfectly into principle number 3. Separate the person from the work. This is entirely about human psychology.
Yes. If you say, your presentation is confusing, the human brain instantly drops the word presentation. All they hear is, you are confusing.
And the moment the brain hears a personal attack, cortisol just floods the system. Defensiveness takes over completely. They stop listening to you and just start building a wall.
Exactly. So you have to separate their identity from their output. Don't say your presentation is confusing. Say this section is a bit hard to follow. The work can always be improved. The person is safe.
Principle number 4 is a total game changer. Ask questions. Instead of walking in and just telling someone they are wrong, what if we just ask them?
The Socratic method. It's brilliant. When you hand someone a verdict, they naturally want to argue with you. When you ask them a question, you invite them to analyze their own work.
Here are some really great English questions to use. Instead of saying, this opening is bad, you ask, how do you feel this section landed?
How do you feel this section landed? I love that. It's so gentle. Here's another one. What was your intention with this opening?
Or this one, which is super effective.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would do differently if you had an extra day to work on it?
That is great, because usually they already know what's wrong. If you ask that, they'll say, yeah, the intro is way too long, and suddenly you're just agreeing with them rather than attacking them.
It completely changes the dynamic of the conversation. Now, principle number 5 is all about timing. Signal before you give.
Yes, never ever ambush someone with feedback. If they aren't expecting it, their brain just interprets it as a sudden attack.
You have to ask for permission first. It gives them 5 seconds to brace themselves and switch into a receptive mindset. Let's give our listeners some specific phrases for this.
You can say, may I share a few thoughts on the report? Just asking may I shows an enormous amount of respect.
May I share a few thoughts? I like that. Or try this. Have some observations about the presentation. Is now a good time?
That's perfect. Is now a good time gives them the option to say, actually, I'm really stressed right now. Can we do it tomorrow?
Okay, before we move to the vocabulary toolkit, I have to ask about something you hear in literally every management seminar. The feedback sandwich.
Oh, the famous sandwich. You say something positive, then you deliver the negative critique, and then you finish with another positive comment.
I am going to push back on this pretty hard. The source material says we shouldn't use it, and I completely agree. People see right through it.
They absolutely do. It's so outdated. And the psychology behind why it fails is fascinating. When you start with the positive, the person's brain just immediately braces for the word but.
Exactly. You say, great job on the fonts. And they're just sitting there thinking, okay, when is the axe going to fall? It makes the praise feel totally fake.
It feels completely mechanical. Authentic, specific praise, followed by an authentic, specific area for development is infinitely more powerful than a fake sandwich.
All right, we have the principles down. Let's open the exact English language toolkit. This is stage 2. What are the actual words we need?
Let's start with specific positive feedback. We already established why saying good job is useless. It just can't be learned from.
Right. If I don't know what I did well, I can't repeat it tomorrow. So let's teach some specific phrases. Listeners, grab a pen and write these down. Here's a full example.
The way you open the presentation by starting with the client's challenge rather than jumping to your solution was really effective.
Let's repeat that for our learners so they can catch the rhythm. The way you open the presentation by starting with the client's challenge was really effective.
Yeah.
You are naming the exact action.
Here's another one. Focus more on data. The level of detail in your financial projections was exactly right for this audience, enough to be credible without overwhelming them.
The level of detail was exactly right. It's so validating to hear that. Here is a really great one for soft skills.
I noticed how you handled the client's pushback. You acknowledged their concern completely before explaining your position. That changed the energy in the room.
Did you catch that specific phrase? I noticed. We are going to use that a lot today. Here's one final positive phrase. What you did here was genuinely smart. Let me explain why.
Okay, now let's move into the tricky stuff. Developmental feedback phrases. This is the language you use when something actually needs to improve.
We have 5 different frames you can use here, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
The first is the observational frame. It uses that phrase we just mentioned. I noticed.
This works so well because it's not a judgment. It's literally just a statement of what your eyes saw. It lowers defensiveness immediately.
Let's give 3 full examples of this. Number 1, I noticed this section runs quite long and starts to lose momentum halfway through.
Very soft and factual. Number 2, I noticed the conclusion doesn't quite connect back to the argument you opened with.
And number 3, this one is great for a speaking mistake. I noticed in the meeting you seem to lose your thread a couple of times.
Lose your thread is a really great native idiom. It means forgetting what you were trying to say. Saying, I noticed you lost your thread, is much kinder than saying you forgot your speech.
Totally. Let's look at the second frame, the upgrade frame. This is for when the work is okay, but you just want to make it great.
The phrase for this one is, one thing that could make this even stronger is, it implies the foundation is already solid.
Example 1. One thing that could make this even stronger is a clearer call to action at the very end.
Example 2. One thing that could make this even stronger is using one specific case study to anchor the main argument.
The third one is the exploratory frame. This is a very, very gentle question. The phrase is, have you considered...
It's totally non-threatening. Example, have you considered working backward from the conclusion?
Or this one, have you considered shortening the first section? The key point arrives quite late.
The fourth frame is the collaborative frame. This signals that you were actually on their team. The phrase is, it might help if.
It might help if you broke this into 2 separate sections. It's trying to do too much at once.
Or, it might help if you flag this as a summary at the top so the reader knows what they're getting.
Now, what if you see a real problem, like a genuine risk? You use the concern frame. The phrase is, my one question mark around this is...
It points out a flaw without calling it a disaster. My one question mark around this is the timeline. Given the team's workload, I wonder if this is realistic.
That's a good one. Another example. My one question mark is around the data source. Is there a more recent study we could cite?
Finally, what if something is totally wrong and absolutely must change? We need firmer language.
But firm doesn't mean rude. Listen to this phrase. I think we need to rethink this section together. The current version isn't quite landing as intended.
Rethink this section together. The word together is the parachute there. It means I'm not abandoning you to fix it alone.
Here's a really beautiful, honest phrase. I want to be honest with you because I think you can make this much stronger.
That is incredible. I want to be honest because I know you can do better. It's essentially a compliment wrapped inside a critique.
Okay, so we've talked extensively about giving feedback, but stage 3 of our roadmap flips the script. What happens when the feedback is directed at you?
Right, how to receive feedback gracefully. And let's be honest, this is incredibly hard. Why do we hate hearing critique so much?
Because of our primal biology. The human brain literally cannot tell the difference between a social threat, like someone criticizing your report, and a physical threat, like a tiger in the jungle.
Right. The amygdala just gets hijacked, cortisol floods your bloodstream, your listening completely stops, and your brain starts aggressively forming counter-arguments while the person is still speaking.
It's the fight or flight response, just happening in a brightly lit conference room. So how do we hack our own biology in that moment?
Technique number 1 is the master key for this. Pause before you respond.
When they finish speaking, do not open your mouth immediately. Take one physical deep breath and then say, thank you.
That 2-second pause shifts your brain out of the threat protection mode and back into the logical information processing mode.
Once you've paused, what do you actually say? Let's give you the receiving phrases. First, when the feedback lands clearly and you actually agree with it.
You can say, thank you for that. That is genuinely useful.
Or you could say, I hadn't thought of it from that angle. That makes a lot of sense.
Another great professional response is, I appreciate you taking the time to share this with me.
But what if you don't understand it? What if their feedback was just super vague? You have to politely ask for more information.
Try this phrase. Could you give me a specific example of what you mean?
Or, could you tell me a bit more about which part specifically felt unclear?
My favorite one is forward-looking. Can you help me understand what a stronger version would look like? It shows you are ready to fix it right now.
Now, the absolute hardest scenario. What do you do when you fundamentally disagree with their feedback?
Let's start with what not to do. Don't stay silent because silence looks like you agree. And don't instantly fight back, because that creates a massive debate.
The best strategy is to ask questions to understand them first before you ever disagree.
Exactly. You say, thank you for that. I want to make sure I fully understand your perspective before I respond. Can I ask a couple of questions?
And then, once you've calmly explored their view, you say, I really appreciate you sharing this. I actually see this a bit differently. Could I share my thinking?
It's so respectful. You're acknowledging their view, but you are still holding your ground.
Another really great tool here is the 24-hour rule. If the feedback really stings and makes you super emotional, wait a full day before responding.
It's amazing how Tuesdays, totally unfair criticism miraculously turns into Wednesdays. Actually, that's a genuine insight once you've just slept on it.
It really does. It all comes down to separating your work from your worth.
Yeah.
A critique of your spreadsheet is not a critique of your intelligence.
When you finally internalize that separation, feedback stops feeling like a threat. It becomes information. And information equals growth.
Let's solidify all this English with our pocket words section. We have 7 essential vocabulary words for professional feedback.
Grab your pen again. For every single word, we're going to spell it out loudly, letter by letter, so you get the spelling absolutely perfect.
Word number 1 is constructive. It's an adjective. I will spell it slowly. Constructive.
Let me read that back just to make sure. Constructive. Constructive.
The definition is useful, practical, and designed to build something up. It gives a clear direction forward.
Here is the exact example sentence from our source. After the project postmortem, the team leader asked everyone to keep their comments constructive, to focus on what could improve next time rather than who was responsible for what went wrong.
The real insight here is that using the word constructive explicitly sets an intention. It tells the room, we are here to help, not to blame.
Beautiful. Word number 2 is candid, another adjective. I'll spell it C-A-N-D-I-D.
That's C-A-N-D-I-D, candid. The definition is truthful and completely straightforward.
But note, candid doesn't mean cruel. It just means you aren't hiding the reality.
Listen to this example sentence. She asked her mentor for completely candid feedback on her business plan. Not encouragement, not flattery, just an honest evaluation of where the real weaknesses were. That one candid conversation saved her from a very costly mistake.
The insight for you as a learner here, when you explicitly ask someone to be candid, you are giving them safe permission to tell you the hard truth.
Word number 3 is critique. This could be a noun or a verb. I'll spell it. C-R-I-T-I-Q-U-E.
That is a tricky spelling for English learners. Let's do it again. C-R-I-T-I-Q-U-E, critique.
As a noun, it means a detailed, balanced evaluation, looking at both the good and the bad.
Here's the example. The senior editor offered to critique her article before submission. What she received was incredibly useful, a paragraph-by-paragraph assessment of what was strong, what was unclear, and specific suggestions for revision.
The usage tip here is to use it as a request. Could you critique this for me? It sounds so much more professional than just saying, can you look at this?
Word number 4 is objective, adjective. Let's spell it. O-B-J-E-C-T-I-V-E.
O-B-J-E-C-T-I-V-E. Objective, meaning fact-based and observable, completely free of personal bias.
Example sentence. The panel was asked to assess each presentation as objectively as possible, using the 4 criteria agreed upfront, rather than their personal preferences or prior knowledge of the presenter.
This connects straight back to the SBI model we talked about earlier. Situation, behavior, impact is an entirely objective framework.
Moving on to word number 5. This is a long one. Defensiveness. It's a noun. D-E-F-E-N-S-I-V-E-E-N-E-S-S.
Let's do that one more time. It's a mouthful. D-E-F-E-N-S-I-V-N-E-S-S. Defensiveness.
The definition is the automatic tendency to protect yourself from criticism in a way that prevents you from learning.
Example sentence. He recognized his first reaction was defensiveness. He wanted to explain and justify every decision before the other person had finished speaking. But he caught himself, took a breath, said thank you, and asked, could you tell me more about what you mean?
That sentence is a masterclass in handling feedback. The insight is that defensiveness is a completely normal human reflex. You can't stop the feeling, but you can recognize it and control the reaction.
Word number 6 is actionable, adjective. A-C-T-I-O-N-A-B-L-E.
This means specific and practical enough that you know exactly what to do next. Example sentence. The most useful feedback she ever received was not just that the report was too long, it was that the executive summary needed to be cut to 1 page, the financial projections moved to an appendix, and each recommendation needed a clear timeline. Specific, concrete, actionable. She made those 3 changes that evening. The report was approved the next morning.
That's the dream, right? If feedback isn't actionable, it's really just someone complaining at you.
Exactly. And our final word, number 7, is receptive. Adjective, I'll spell it. R-E-C-E-P-T-I-V-E.
R-E-C-E-P-T-I-V-E. Receptive. It means genuinely open and willing to receive new ideas.
Example. What most impressed her manager was not that she never made mistakes, it was that she was always receptive to feedback. After every project, she asked specifically what she could improve, wrote it down, and followed up in the next project to show she had acted on it.
That right there is how you get promoted. Out of all 7 of those words, which one resonates the most with you?
For me, it has to be receptive.
Really? Why that one specifically?
Because it ties back to the pause technique. In that single deep breath before I respond to criticism, I actually have a choice. I can give in to my defensiveness, or I can choose to be receptive. It's an active choice.
That is so powerful, choosing curiosity over armor. Now let's transition to our smooth it out section.
This is where we look at 6 common, somewhat clunky mistakes English learners make when giving or receiving feedback, and we smooth them out into natural professional English.
So the format is, I will read the wrong version, you explain why it fails, I'll give the smooth version, and then you repeat the smooth version so our listeners can practice it. Ready?
Ready. Let's do mistake 1.
Mistake 1. Saying bluntly, your work is bad.
This fails completely because it's a verdict with 0 information. The person just feels attacked, but they have absolutely no idea what the actual problem is.
The smooth, natural version is, I noticed this section could be significantly strengthened by, and then you give the specific suggestion.
Let's repeat that smooth version. I noticed this section could be significantly strengthened by. It's so much softer and more helpful.
Mistake 2. Saying,
Okay.
You always make this mistake.
Oh, that word always is deadly. It turns a single error into a permanent character flaw. It guarantees the person will become defensive.
The smooth version is, I've noticed this same issue coming up in a few pieces of recent work. I think it's worth addressing directly so we can get ahead of it.
Repeating the smooth version, I've noticed the same issue coming up in a few pieces of recent work. It keeps the focus entirely on the work, not the person.
Mistake 3. This is a receiving mistake. Instantly replying, I don't agree with your feedback.
This fails because it instantly turns a professional conversation into a debate. It shows you haven't even tried to understand their perspective.
The smooth version is, thank you for that. I want to make sure I understand it fully. Before I respond, could I ask you a couple of questions?
Repeating that excellent de-escalation phrase, thank you for that. I want to make sure I understand it fully before I respond.
Mistake 4. Only ever saying, good job.
We covered this earlier. It's kind, sure, but it's totally useless. It gives them no repeatable action.
The smooth version names the action. The way you handled the client's objection, you fully acknowledged their concern before explaining your position, which completely changed their body language in the room. That's what I want to see more of.
The structure there is perfect. Name the action, explain why it worked, tell them to repeat it.
Mistake 5. Saying, this is wrong.
Binary verdicts close the conversation. It positions you as a judge rather than a teammate.
The smooth version. I think there might be a stronger approach here. Would you like me to share what I'm thinking?
Repeating the smooth version. I think there might be a stronger approach here. Would you like me to share what I'm thinking? It's very collaborative.
Mistake 6. Responding to vague feedback by just saying, okay, thank you.
If you accept vague feedback silently, nothing changes. You'll just make the exact same mistake next time.
The smooth version. Thank you for that. I want to make sure I act on this properly. Could you give me a specific example of what you mean?
Repeating it. Thank you for that. Could you give me a specific example of what you mean?
All right, we've got the vocabulary, we've got the phrases. It's time to put all this English into action with 2 live role-play scenes.
This will really help you hear how the tone and rhythm actually sound in a real office conversation.
Scene 1. Giving feedback on a report. Here's the setup. I am reviewing your written report. Most of it is solid.
But section 3 is a mess, right? I mixed up efficiency gains and cost implications.
Exactly. So I need to correct you using the exact toolkit we just learned. Let's start the scene. Hey, do you have a few minutes to chat about the report?
Yeah, of course. What did you think?
Well, first, the core argument is really clear. And your data selection in the opening is excellent. It sets up the context perfectly.
Oh, thank you. I spent a lot of time on that section.
It really shows. I did notice one thing in section 3, though. It seems to be trying to cover both the efficiency gains and the cost implications in the same paragraphs.
Oh, I see. I thought tying them together made sense because they're related.
I totally understand the logic, but I noticed it actually makes the main point a bit confusing for the reader to follow. One thing that could make this even stronger is separating them into 2 distinct sections with their own headings.
So separate headings for efficiency and cost.
Exactly. I think that clearer structure would make the argument much more persuasive. Does that make sense?
Yes, it actually does. I'll split that section up this afternoon.
And scene. Let's step out of character and break down exactly what happened there.
You used the toolkit perfectly. First, you opened with specific positive feedback. You didn't just say, good job. You praised the data selection.
Then I used the observational frame. I said, I noticed it makes the main point a bit confusing.
Right. You didn't say, you made it confusing. You kept it objective. Then came the upgrade frame.
One thing that could make this even stronger is separating them. And I finished with a collaborative question. Does that make sense?
It felt totally natural and my defensiveness never triggered. Let's do scene 2.
Scene 2 is about receiving unexpected feedback. I'm going to play your manager.
And you're giving me tough feedback about how I rushed past a timeline concern on a client call.
I'll initiate, and you're going to demonstrate pausing, thanking, asking a clarifying question, and a forward-looking close. Let's start. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about the client call yesterday. When they brought up the implementation timeline, you moved past it without fully addressing their worry. They actually emailed me this morning saying they still have unresolved questions about the schedule.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
I just want to make sure we're fully answering their concerns in the room so they feel confident in us.
I appreciate that. Was their email specifically about the timeline question or more generally about how I handle their overall concerns?
It was specifically about the timeline. They felt they didn't get a firm answer on the delivery dates.
I understand. I honestly thought I had addressed it in the moment, but clearly the client didn't experience it that way. That's my oversight.
We just need to be more careful next time.
Absolutely. Could we talk through what a stronger, more complete response would have looked like in that moment?
And scene. Wow. Let's break that down because that is exactly how you save a professional relationship.
The very first thing I did was pause. I literally took a mental breath to stop my heart from racing.
And then you said, thank you. You didn't immediately say, but I did answer them, which is what most people do.
Then I asked a clarifying question to find out the scope of the problem. Was it specifically about the timeline?
Then came the honest acknowledgement. I thought I addressed it, but clearly they didn't experience it that way. No excessive apologizing, just owning the reality.
And the forward-looking question at the end is the magic trick. Could we talk through what a stronger response would have looked like? It turns a scolding into a mentoring session.
It really does. It shows incredible maturity. And that brings us to the end of our roadmap today.
If we have to summarize all of this, the ultimate takeaway is simple. Feedback is a gift.
It is. The most valuable feedback you will ever give someone is the honest, specific, kind truth.
It takes courage to look someone in the eye and give them constructive feedback in a second language. But when you do it with the right English tools, it changes things. It builds careers.
Let's do a rapid recap of the techniques. First, be specific. Vagueness helps no one.
Use the SBI framework. Situation, behavior, impact. Keep it objective and factual.
Separate the person from the work. Protect their identity so they don't get defensive.
Ask questions instead of just giving verdicts. And when you need to be firm, use collaborative words like together.
When you are receiving feedback, pause, breathe, say thank you, ask for clarity.
And if it really stings, use the 24-hour rule before you write that angry email.
Now, we have a question for you, our listener. We want you to leave a comment on this episode.
The question is, what is the most memorable piece of feedback you have ever received? Good, difficult, or surprising?
How did it land when you heard it? And looking back with these new tools, what do you wish you had said in response?
Let us know in the comments. We love reading your stories.
And don't forget to subscribe to Talking English Daily. We have a new episode dropping every single week.
You definitely want to subscribe because episode 10 is huge. We are teaching you how to talk about money in English.
Oh, yes. Asking for a raise, negotiating your salary, and discussing money at work without making it awkward.
It's a topic everyone stresses about, so make sure you're here for it.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. See you next week, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone. And remember, the most valuable feedback you will ever give someone is the honest, specific, kind truth. It takes courage to say it, and it changes things.
Talk English Daily. Subscribe for new episodes